Welcome to OreoOlive.com. I'm your host, Scholar. As you know, Oreo and olives don't mix, but the abstract thought of putting those two words together has enlightened me to create a channel to discuss various topics. On today's episode, I made a podcast episode this morning, and it was talking about the difference between rich people, wealthy people, and people in between that are trying to make it to those different levels. As we know, and sometimes we feel as when we're going through life, we see the end result in which we think that we know somebody's wealth based on the vehicles that they drive, and that's not always the case. I've met people before who were extremely wealthy, but the vehicles they drive, you would never have known because they quote unquote live below their means, and they don't show their wealth in terms of material things. And sometimes we have to get out of the habit and the way and the thought process of we can't have what everybody else have around us if we're constantly trying to keep up with the Joneses. It's what I've heard someone say before, which was actually quite funny, is you have people trying to keep up with the Joneses, and then I've heard them go further and say the Joneses trying to keep up with the Trumps. And what they're saying kind of on the tone is, as one level of person or people are trying to keep up with the next level of people, and then that group of people trying to keep up with people above them. So you have people sometimes who will get into the habit of buying materialistic things to make the appearance that they are wealthy. And so the outside public tends to sometimes look at that and gauge somebody's success by what they drive and the type of clothes that they wear and things that they have on their back. And you could probably show me hundreds of people that operate in that way. I can show you a lot of people who don't operate that way that I've met over time, and I'm glad that they don't fall into those traps of making or putting off the appearance of what they have in order to try to, I guess you can say, make people think that they are or have a certain amount of wealth, if that makes any sense. So when you look at that whole thing, what you have to realize is, I like when people, and I've seen this before, but do you think that it would make more sense that if a person was at a certain level of wealth that they don't actually show it? A prime example of that is you can look at someone like Warren Buffett, okay? Let's use him as an example. We all know who Warren Buffett is, and if you don't know what to tell you, but look him up online. When you look at the amount of wealth that Warren Buffett has, you can look at the car that he drives, for instance. He can basically afford anything that he wants. And they had did a video of him once before, and it was back in kind of the mid 2000s. And Warren Buffett still drove himself to work every day. He still enjoyed the same routine. And I think at that time he was in like a Cadillac, I think. Can't remember what model that it was, but it was a fairly older one. And then he was still driving the same Suburban that he was driving like years down the line. And so when you're looking at a situation like that, what you have to understand is people sometimes who are very at the top 1%, they may not drive the same things or spend their money on the same things as what people who are in the majority would spend their money on. But the people in the majority will spend the money on the vehicles to make the appearance that they are whom or what they are not. And so we have to look at that, and you have to make yourself understand, what do people invest their money? Are they investing their money in like areas that they shouldn't? Now, this is not me at all telling you where to invest your money. I'm not your financial advisor. I'm just pointing out a situation that I've seen that makes a whole lot of sense. And when you grow older and as you go through age and you go through things in life, you understand some things that you spend your money on can be considered very stupid. Other things could be worth an investment. So when you look at the wealthy, they spend their money in investments and things that's going to make them wealthier. People who are trying to get there, that are just above broke and pretend to be wealthy, spend their money on materialistic things. And sometimes those materialistic things can be what we consider ourselves as being consumers, because the majority of the world is consumers. And then a percentage of their population are producers, because they produce things in which that creates businesses and generate them income. Now there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of gurus out there that have all tips and tricks on how they got to where they are. And you can definitely readily look them up on YouTube. The information is free. It doesn't cost you anything to attain that information because most of it is in books. But what I noticed that the wealthy do, the wealthy reads a lot. They spend their time probably more than 3 to 4 hours a day reading books and increasing their intellectual capacity in order to get or think of new types of business ventures to make them even more money. And what we do sometimes is we are here to we entertain ourselves sometimes, not always, but sometimes by watching nonsense on TV that has no constructive value. And so we all have to make choices. We all go through it. We all have been there. We all have watched shows and different sitcoms and things like that. But at one point, what ends up happening is as you grow older and go through things, you will start to make more informed decisions on what you need to look at and involve yourself in order to make yourself grow. And this video is just basically informational because I love talking to people. I love to inspire people. And that's one thing that I can say that I have always been a champion of, is really just getting more into talking to people and really just getting even a better idea of where I think the world should be, because we can be so much more of a better place. So I find myself most definitely reading more because I love reading. And I'm reading a couple of books right now. Those can be from autobiography books. It can be technology books. It can just be general self-help book, entrepreneurship type of books. But you'll start to think differently. You'll start to feel differently. You'll start to do everything different in your life. And I always, like I said, like to share information with people because information doesn't always cost. Information is definitely something that you can, as I always say, research online, looking the information up, reading. That's how I find out a lot of things that I don't know. And also taking the time to talk to different types of people, which is most important, because you will be surprised of what other people around you are going through. And especially sharing content on this platform, on YouTube, which is definitely very, very powerful because it gives you the ability to reach millions and millions of people globally who may not like to talk on camera, but who are very fascinating people behind scenes, who like to work on things behind scenes. I've actually talked to people before that I've wanted to interview, and they've told me, hey man, I'll definitely talk to you offline, but I'm very scared to get on camera and actually talk. And that's okay. Me, I have no problem with that, at all. I enjoy just being able to share this content with you, and hopefully that what I'm talking to you about today will inspire you to do so much more better. Because when you put yourself in a circle of people who are doing great things, it inspires you to do even much more better things in life. But if you surround yourself with people who do not want to make it to where you want to, sometimes they can definitely bring you down. And so as you grow your network, and I'm not talking about computer networking for you IT professionals out there, but networking in the sense of the public is being able to connect with people, like-minded people who want to move forward and learn different things, because we all can learn something from each other. So you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to be a professor. You don't have to be the best at it. You can just have an inspirational tip that you want to share with people, and that's what I'm sharing with you today. So like, listen, and subscribe to OyalOlive.com. I'm going to continuously be putting out content that I feel could be beneficial to you and the world like out there. And I look forward to talking with you all soon. Thank you.